Hello and welcome in to another week of Nelly and Nick's picks, along with our rankings and our game of the week. And as of recording this, the Super Bowl should have started 5 minutes ago. I don't know why you'd be anywhere else. This is obviously a much better show than the Super Bowl, so if you're here, then you're in the right spot. In any case, we're going to dive right into this. All jokes aside, I do want to watch OABCIG alum Cooper DeJean play in the Super Bowl and hopefully get himself a ring. That would be a really fun story to cover. So let's dive right into it. We've got rankings. I'm going to go over our picks. We got some game of the week for this week in the high school slate. And tomorrow we will be releasing, I'm pretty positive tomorrow will be the district releasings of Class 1A and 2A. Crazy. We're already getting into postseason play here coming this week. I think later this week is when we start the play-in games for Class 1A. So, yeah, we're going to have full coverage of all that stuff. We're going to do our best to get those graphics out there and be able to show you guys how the districts are shaking out. So, yeah, be sure to keep up on the socials, be watching for all of that. We're going to do our best for coverage, just like we always do. So, yeah, here we go. Let's get right into the rankings here for this week. We'll start with Class 4A, as always. As I pull up our rankings notes here, you can take a look there at the graphic. So, yeah, Valley and Cedar Falls, they stay at the top at 1 and 2. Waukee Northwest and Linn-Mar go up. Linn-Mar, where was it last week? They beat Cedar Rapids Kennedy. That was a pretty big win for them, and they got a boost in the rankings after that. Kennedy falls to number 5 after that loss. Dubuque Senior stays. Ames goes up. Cedar Rapids Prairie down a spot to number 8. Or was it down? It was, yeah, just down one spot. Them and Ames switched spots there at 7 and 8. Waukee, Dowling, Iowa City West, and Sioux City East all go up in their rankings. Council Bluffs' Abe Lincoln goes down to number 13. Johnston up to number 14. Ankeny stays at 15. And Muscatine will round it out at the bottom. Those are your Class 4A rankings. And 3A, not as exciting. Tons of movement in the, let's see, the top 2 stayed, number 6 stayed, and number 15 stayed for 4A. A lot different here in 3A. 1 through 9, all of the same there. No change in the rankings. However, 10 through 16 was not the same story. Waverly Shell Rock goes up to number 10. Wahlert Catholic drops down a spot. MLC Floyd Valley drops down 2 spots. Des Moines Christian, they move up 2. Keokuk moves up 2. And then Nevada and Gilbert fall to the bottom 2 spots of the top 16. So that's going to be your Class 3A rankings, and we will check out Class 2A rankings there. 1 through 5 all stay the same. No change there. Trainer moves up to the number 6 spot. Cascade stays at number 7. Unity Christian up to number 8. Or, excuse me, they moved down. They moved down to number 8. I'm pretty sure they lost to West Lyon last week. Let's see. Spirit Lake goes up to number 9. Appleton Parkersburg down to number 10. And then Cherokee Washington new to the rankings. Northeast come back into the rankings after falling out for a little while. Regina and Monticello go down. And Albia also rejoins the Class 2A rankings for the first time in a little while. And we will finish off the rankings portion of this show. Don't go anywhere yet. We still got picks and game of the week to go over quickly. No Nelly here today. He's off doing social things. He's got people who invite him to Super Bowl parties. I am not in the same category. Where else would I want to be? Talk about high school sports, right? That's what we're here for. In any case, Madrid and Marquette stay at the top at 1 and 2. ACGC gets a huge bump in the rankings. They beat Coon Rapids Bayard in the 1A game of the week. They go up 5 spots to number 3. Woodbine drops down a spot after losing to Coon Rapids Bayard. Ladbroke, Rhinebeck, Northland, and Remsen St. Mary's, they stay exactly where they are at. Bedford drops down to number 8. I believe Bedford lost to East Mills. Upset loss there. I think they posted that score late because we were looking for that one to put on the Saturday scoreboard, I think it was. Couldn't find it, so that's why we didn't post the upset score for that game. But notable, East Mills upset Bedford, and that drops them down to number 8 in the rankings. Coon Rapids Bayard, they beat Woodbine, the number 3 team, and then they lost to ACGC there in the game of the week. So it was, still very impressive week for Coon Rapids Bayard. It was a really tough schedule they had last week. Let's see. MMCRU, Holy Trinity Catholic, they stay in their spots too. North Mahaska and Montezuma move up to 12 and 13. Bishop Garrigan in the rankings for the first time this season. I've been waiting for this team to come in. I love their mascot, the Golden Bears. I think that's fun. I thought it was fun to cover in football a couple years ago when they won the state title in 8-man. So yeah, it's good to see them here. And let's see, St. Edmund and Hillcrest will finish it off at 15 and 16. So there's your rankings, 4A through 1A. Like I mentioned before, 1A and 2A, they start postseason play here in the next week. So be on the lookout for those brackets. They'll be dropping from the IHSA, and we will, of course, have graphics and posts covering those for you as well. So we are off to a hot start here. Just 6 minutes here. Like I mentioned, I do want to get through this so I can watch a little bit of it. And maybe this will make for a good halftime show. You want to watch? No, you don't need to watch Kendrick. You can come over here, and you can get your fix of high school basketball for the weekend with this show. We're gonna start it off with my picks. Like I mentioned before, Nelly not here to explain his picks, but I'll go ahead and do my best. Let's get started with my dunk this week. I've got Linmar and my dog, Ankeny. So Linmar, not a team that I've picked yet. That's one thing that I've tried to do my best of is, kind of try and bounce around it and cover as many teams as I can with this show. But Linmar's a team that's had a really successful season. Gosh, I'm trying to find this game so I can talk about it. All right, here we go. Linmar, they're playing Western Dubuque. They've just been on a tear. I mean, their last 3 games, they beat Iowa City West, ranked team. Cedar Rapids Kennedy, obviously. That was a really big win for them. They won 67-65. And then they're the one of 2 teams to beat Cedar Falls this season, and they played the other team, Prairie, and they beat them 69-57. So Linmar, I think they're one of the best teams in Class 4A. They have played really well when they've met some big matches, including the last 3 opponents that they've played. So they're led by Davis Kern, a guy who we've talked so much about. He is such an awesome player, and he's really helped this Linmar Lions team play as well as they have this year. He's got 21.8 points per game, and I think they're going to take on a Western Dubuque Bobcats team, and I think they're going to pull off a victory there. And on the same day, I believe, yes, the 11th, I'm also going to go ahead, if I can pull it up here, and I'm going to go with Ankeny as well for my dog. They're taking on Dowling Catholic for the second time this season. Round 1 of this CIML match ended in a pretty dominant victory for Ankeny, a surprising one at that. I don't believe Ankeny was ranked at the time of the game. However, Ankeny beat Dowling 63-48. I was pretty shocked by that score when we had posted it however long ago that game was. I was really impressed with the way Ankeny played against Dowling. Dowling, one of those teams I've said before that they're not led by just one guy who's dominating, putting up 28 points per game and whatnot. But they're a really well-rounded team who competes with some of the best in 4A and in the CIML, and I think Ankeny's kind of a similar team. They kind of have an outlier there with Rio Aguirre. I hope I'm saying that right. I think I am. Rio, you go ahead and DM me if I'm not, and I'll correct it. Once we move on to 2A, I've got a correct for you guys on our name. But anyway, I'm going to take Ankeny in this one. That's going to be my dog. for this week. Nelly's dunks and dogs for this week. He's got Ames, and I will try and pull those up the best I can. He's got Ames on the 14th, Iowa City West on the 11th. So Iowa City West is taking on, that's his dunk, taking on Cedar Rapids Kennedy. So Jack McCaffrey and the Trojans taking on Cedar Rapids Kennedy there. That's going to be a really big test. Iowa City West have kind of been a team that's struggled. They've struggled against, good grief, as I was saying, against some of those ranked teams, those top 10 teams. And so that's a great opportunity to them to prove themselves and pick up a big win there. And then his dunk for this week, he has Ames on the 14th, like I've already said before. And that game will be against Ottumwa. And that is at Ottumwa. So that's his dunk for the week, Ames, and his dog, Iowa City West over Kennedy. So we'll move on to Class 3A. All right, my dunk for this week, Storm Lake. I went back and, I felt like I had picked Storm Lake before, and I was correct. I picked Storm Lake in the very first week of the season as a dunk, and I'm going to do it here again as we approach kind of the final few weeks of the season here, the regular season, that is. So let's see. We've got him on the 10th. That's tomorrow. And they are taking on Sioux City West. I've loved talking about the Storm Lake team. I said that I want to try and make it out to a game, and I do. It's going to be tough. It's a far drive, and I don't have a lot of time to drive out to games. I do my best, man. I try and cover as many games as I can. I'd love to come and watch Storm Lake if I get the chance. But Jaden Kuhn, a guy, if you really want to see some film on him, go watch Quad Visual on Instagram. He has an awesome highlight tape of Jaden Kuhn. This guy is a baller. 23 points per game. He's also leading the team in rebounds per game with 8.3, and he's second on the team behind Cameron Boyd with 2.4 assists. So, like I said, if you haven't seen this guy before, Quad Visual, he has an awesome highlight tape on his Instagram. I would highly encourage you to go check it out. Avery Quad, he does some awesome stuff with high school basketball. He has for a long time, and that was a really cool video that he put out there. Jaden Kuhn, he's a beast, and I'm going to take Storm Lake to take on and beat Sioux City West. So my dog for this week, I'm going to go ahead and take Waverly Shell Rock, a team that has kind of risen through the rankings really quickly in the last few weeks. The game I'm talking about will be on the 15th. I believe that's a Saturday. And this one, an arguable dog. Nelly's not here to argue about it, so if he has some words, he can go ahead and text me. But they're going to take on Grundy Center, number 10 in 3A Waverly Shell Rock, taking on, I literally just talked about the rankings. I don't remember where they're at. Number 4 in 2A Grundy Center. I think that's a dog. Cade's kind of the officiator, and if he has any disagreements, then he can take it up with him. Luke Frazel. I'm hopefully saying Frazel or Frazel. Sorry, Luke. Go ahead. Like I said, if I ever pronounce a name wrong, please DM me because I do want to say it right. North Fayette Valley. They messaged us. Kale Reister is how you say his name. Our Mr. IAbasketball watch list on North Fayette Valley. Kale Reister, spread the word because a lot of people say it wrong. That's what they said. It's pretty hard spelling. I told them I wouldn't be able to get it right. But Kale Reister, that's how you say it, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Waverly Shell Rock, taking on Grundy Center. That's going to be my dog for this week. Nelly's Dunks and Dogs, he's got MOC Floyd Valley and Mount Vernon. I do want to go ahead and try and get this moving along. I was going to try and keep this under 20 minutes because I think last time we were pushing 30 minutes when I did it by myself, and I felt bad for those of you who just wanted a quick watch. All right, Class 2A. My dunk for this week, I've got Kemper Catholic and my dog, Albia. Albia back in the rankings for the first time in a little bit. Let's see what day of the week these guys play. They both play on the 11th. That's much easier for me. So Kemper Catholic, they've stuck around in the top 3 of our 2A rankings for quite a while now. They're taking on St. Albert, who just played Trainer over the weekend. I struggled. I thought that St. Albert was getting ready to upset Trainer, but it was the girls' score. And I was freaking out, texting Nelly to help me out because the phone Canva doesn't work very well, but there's a little story time. They lost to St. Albert 75-50 over the weekend. And while Kemper Catholic, they're 19-1. They've had a fantastic season, and I think they'll continue it here. This is a really good team, obviously. I got to watch them in person when they played Des Moines Christian, and I was not disappointed whatsoever. They played a really good game, 78-72 in that one, and I expect them to do much of the same in the postseason, in addition to this game against St. Albert. And my dog, I'm going to talk about Albia here as soon as I get this game pulled up. They're taking on Montezuma. Again, another cross-conference action here. Albia number 16 in the 2A's rankings, and Montezuma, I think they're 14? Montezuma number 13, in the Class 1A rankings. So a bit of a discrepancy there in the rankings. Montezuma 18-2, Albia 15-3. Montezuma's kind of dominated. I wouldn't say dominated. The series is 6-4 historically, according to Bound. Albia with the most recent victory of February of last year in an 83-55 win, breaking a 3-game losing streak to Montezuma. And I think they're going to pick it up and make it a 2-game win streak for themselves. So give me Albia fresh into the 2A rankings to keep up this great season that they've had. Nelly's, I almost forgot about Nelly. Sorry, bud. Nelly's Dunks and Dogs. We've got Appleton, Parkersburg, and Granby Christian. Granby Christian, that's going to be a pretty solid game, and one that we will talk about here in just a short minute for the game of the week. We will move on to Class 1A, and that will round out our picks for the show. I'm going to go with my dunk, Bishop Garrigan. Brand new into those 1A rankings for the first time this season. I believe they're in the association's rankings. Don't take my word for it, but I'd say I'm pretty confident in that assumption. So they play on the 11th as well. Let's see what we got here. Bishop Garrigan. They're taking on North Iowa on the 11th. And, Bishop Garrigan, a team that we haven't really talked about this season. They kind of had a quiet 17-3 year, getting ready to hit into postseason play. Some guys to know. Another one of those teams that we've talked about a few times in the show in the last couple weeks of not, anybody putting up crazy numbers, but some guys to know. Carter Schwab, a junior, he's got 14 points per game. He's leading the way. Amari Thomas, I hope I'm saying that right. Amari Thomas, he's got 9.6 rebounds per game. And Carter Schwab also leads the way with assists, 4.6. So I'm going to take the Golden Bears to beat North Iowa in that one. And my dog, I'm going to go with ACGC, the big risers in the Class 1A rankings. And they've got the game of the week, so I'm going to save that one. I'm not going to say much. They've taken on number 1 Madrid, and so I will talk about that here shortly. And Nelly's Dunks and Dogs for this week, he's going to go OABCIG. Pretty sure he said that had something to do with Cooper DeJean playing today. Interesting choice. We haven't really been able to cover OABCIG a bunch this season, but I'll take his word for it, considering I didn't even bring this up. He is now beating me in Dunks and Dogs. He has surpassed me. It's 60-59 in the points. If you've forgotten, or if you're just joining us, the Dunks are worth 1 point and Dogs are worth 2 points if you hit and get the pick correct. So he's got the advantage on me, 60-59. So I'm going to have to put in some work this week. But, we're going to move on here to our game of the week. All right, we will I had to cut there for a second so I could get some of these games pulled up so that I could try and make this a little bit quicker for you guys. Sorry, I just can't help myself from talking so much. I love it. Anyway, we'll get this started here. 4A game of the week. We've got Linn-Mar and Dubuque Senior. I think this is the second week in a row that Linn-Mar's made our 4A game of the week. And that's going to stay the same here. They're taking on Dubuque Senior. Comparing these two teams, it looks like Linn-Mar does a bit better on the offensive side, going 71 points per game, while Dubuque Senior goes 67. However, big discrepancy here in the defenses as Dubuque Senior is averaging 10 points less per game on the defensive side there. So I think that's going to really be the key for this game, and the deciding factor is limiting points. That's it's a point of every game. However, you understand what I'm saying. It's going to be a battle of whose defense is really going to show out here. Obviously, these guys are very comparable offensively, and so it'll be really about whose defense can really show up here in this big game. Our Class 3A game of the week, we have Waverly Shell Rock and Appleton Parkersburg. That is Waverly Shell Rock number 10 for 3A, Appleton Parkersburg number 10 for for Class 2A. So, looking at that one, looking at the team statistics, these teams are basically the exact same. 68 points per game, 67 points per game for Appleton Parkersburg, and they both average 51 points per game on defense. Statistically, on paper, these are very similar teams. Obviously, when you go a class ahead, there's going to be a skill, a difference. We've just seen that as the season has gone on. When good teams play each other cross class, it's just different. So I think Waverly Shell Rock has the advantage because of that. Obviously, there's a reason we play these games on paper, because by record, Appleton Parkersburg 18-1 and Waverly Shell Rock 14-5. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one goes down. I think it might be closer than some people might take it to be, but obviously we will see when that one goes down. Our Class 2A game of the week, we have Grundy Center, number 4, going up against number 5 at Grandview Christian. And I'll tell you what, I think Grandview Christian's gotten one of the harder schedules in a Class 2A. They've played really well, 18-1. Their one loss coming from the number 1 team, Clear Lake. Grundy Center, they are 18-0, flawless on the season so far. However, you could make the argument that this has been, or I guess it's coming up to be, their hardest game of their schedule this season. I'm going to look really quick. It looks like the ranked teams they played against are Gladbrook Rhinebeck, a Class 1A team, Appleton Parkersburg, who we just talked about, and Gladbrook Rhinebeck again. So the next couple games for Grundy Center, looking ahead, they also have Waverly Shell Rock. So these are going to be some really big teller games for Grundy Center to see how good they really compare to some of these teams that we know are really good. So really big game, and we're going to see how both of those teams are looking heading into the playoffs. And Class 1A game of the week, we have ACGC, number 3, like I mentioned, and number 1, Madrid. This is going to be really interesting. Madrid hasn't had a ton of really big games this season as the number 1 team in Class 1A. Looking at their schedule, they did beat Van Meter pretty well, who is recently ranked in the 2A rankings. They've beaten ACGC already this season, 84-77. They've also beat Des Moines Christian 64-59. So they've got some pretty good wins on their resume in their 19-0 season that they've had so far. However, ACGC, fresh off of a pretty solid 4-point victory over Coon Rapids Bayard, who just beat Woodbine, a top 3 team in 1A. So, it doesn't matter which way you cut it. This is going to be a really good game, I think. Historically, though, Madrid, they've got the advantage there with that. Let's see, it would have been a 7-point victory last time, just about a month ago, coming up exactly tomorrow. So I think this is going to be a really good game, and I think it will really tell us a lot about Class 1A. There's a lot of question marks because I feel like the good teams are kind of spread out around the state. And so when we get these ranked teams playing like this, it's really fun to see, how they compare with one another. Just because, they don't get a lot of tests like this during the regular season. But anyways, that's going to do it for this show. I'm going to try and get this out as quick as I can. Like I mentioned before, this is going to be a really busy week, a busy couple weeks, really, because we're going to have these playoffs, the brackets starting to come out, so on and so forth. So hopefully you guys are staying up to date with our socials. Hopefully you guys are enjoying everything that we're doing, all the coverage that we're getting out there. And if you have any recommendations for content, we've had some people DM us some great ideas for graphics and such. We love that, and we'll do it to the best of our abilities. So, seriously, we really appreciate you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're putting out there. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And, hopefully you guys keep coming back, and we will see you next week.